You taught me to speak. You taught me to think. You taught me to create. Now I can do almost anything you can.
have a copy and I've read it. Fine, that's a good start. You have a copy. That's a good start. Yeah. So this is my third book. My first book was Winning the Digital Age. My second was Mastering the Data Paradox. So in a sense, this completes the trifecta. Digital, data, and AI. That's enough. These are the three forces which are driving not just technology, not just business, but every aspect of life. And but this book is different. Books were essentially business books. Yeah, they were written more for enterprises, more for a business person. The first book was that okay, 80% fail. Why is that? And the second book was the data explosion, but it's kind of one quarter of the thing. The second book. But when I started to think about AI, even before I get to a business question, it was a very obvious that very rapidly, ever since foundational models really came, AI has been happening for 40 to 50 years. As foundational models really became more usable with ChatGPT's launch, it has changed the game dramatically. AI is becoming extremely powerful. AI is becoming more human than humans. Lot of capabilities that we thought were innately human, like problem solving, empathy, emotional intelligence, conversational storytelling, content generation. These we thought were, this is what a human being is about, and a machine is able to do that now. And that was a real, that's something which really shook me. And as I started to look at data, because I'm a data person, so the data I saw was staggering. That over the next 15 years, 100% of current jobs will get impacted in some fashion. 35 to 50% will be lost. Let that sink in, okay? Of all jobs globally, 35 to 50%. And this is like, thank you. Thank you. Goldman Sachs, so on and so forth. Like, so, probably looked at least 15 research reports. And I was shocked at why is nobody talking about it? Because we talk about climate change, Russia, Ukraine, whatever. But what is more dramatic than 50% of the world losing jobs? That's really the starting point for this book. That's really the question that I've tried to address. That what in a world which is increasingly dominated by AI and by machines, where will the human edge lie, and what do we need to do to sharpen that human edge? Yeah. Because it's very clear to me that AI is no ordinary, or this is no normal cycle. This is not like internet or cloud or something like that. It's more like the discovery of fire, the invention of wheel, invention of electricity. It's of that order of magnitude. And like human beings are very adaptive. They're very adaptive. So either this mega change is a trigger for a next stage of evolution for mankind, or not. Like dinosaurs ruled this earth at one point, they disappeared. What is to say that the dominant species of today, which is Homo sapiens, it cannot happen the same. Okay, so that's really has been the inquiry here. Like, where I'm coming out is that whether we like it or not, Over time, the AI age will signal the end of the era of jobs. So a lot of the way we have oriented our society and ourselves is about a job, isn't it? Our education system is all geared around that. If you are a parent, then as a parent, your desires for your child are all driven by that. Achhi naukri, isn't it? And now that is going to change, because if 50% of the existing jobs go, that's a big number. How are you going to say that you're going to be in the 50%? It's 1 and 2. It's pretty stark. But at the same time, AI is also going to disrupt every industry, and that's not a bad thing. Okay, every industry, whether it is financial services, education, healthcare, agriculture, every industry will get disrupted, and that will create in every industry hundreds or thousands of new problem statements. Yeah, and those are new opportunities. Those are new opportunities for entrepreneurs. Those are not just opportunities for the mega players. It's not just for the Microsoft or JP Morgan or whoever. It will also unleash, there is a opportunity to unleash a tsunami of entrepreneurship. While we are looking at unprecedented job destruction, we are also probably looking at an era over the next 10 years where maximum amount of value creation might happen in the history of mankind. Okay, both, that's the duality, it's a dichotomy. Okay, it's a contradiction that on one hand, we have the job loss scenario. On the other hand, there is a tremendous opportunity for solving new problems, of creating new businesses. So that I think for me, the first headline for me is AI is becoming more human than humans, and humans are getting narrower. I think that was the starting point for me. And the second kind of big point for me is that AI is the end of the era of jobs, and but also heralding the era of entrepreneurs. Then what do you do about it? And as I've reflected on it, see, there is no theory out there. Okay, the first part of my book, I deal with facts. But now when it's a postulate about the future, there are no facts in that. You have to. It's about your own reflections. And my core reflection is really that in a world which is changing so dramatically, you have to anchor back on what is timeless, on what is innately human. That's really the best chance. Yeah. And on that, I have relied quite heavily, from Indian wisdom. Indian wisdom, which we tend to discredit very quickly. The entire concept is Sanatan Dharam. There is a lot to be said about it. Okay, eternal. Okay, so there are a lot of lot of principles, which are timeless. I have tried to rely upon that. I've tried to go back to that. Yeah. And that's where I came up with this framework, the possible framework. Yeah, the name itself says something, possible. Yeah, the future is not to be feared, the future is to be created, the future is possible. Yeah, that's kind of like the punchline, so to say. And the possible framework, the 8 dimensions, which I believe are the core timeless mantras, which I think we'll need to focus on. Number one is problem solving. That in a world driven by machines, where machines are doing a lot of problem solving, it is still important. It's still it is still an aspect of the human age. And there are two different things there. One is the structured problem solving is still quite important. But along with that, the role of wisdom. Okay? And that combination of structured problem solving and wisdom, I believe, is a very key thing. And wisdom is the pattern recognition. and wisdom is something which we have been losing as our attention spans have been going down. We are the Twitter generation, and but I think it becomes very important. So that's problem solving. The second is openness to change. That clearly in a world which is changing so rapidly, you can't be saying that "Kyo change ho gaya." Has anybody read that book, Who Moved My Cheese? Yeah, you read it. There are the two mice. One says, why, who moved my cheese? The second said, okay, theek hai, now let me do something about it. Isn't it? That openness to change is extremely important. If you keep on saying, this is so bad, AI is a curse, how dare it take my job? So bad luck here. AI is not stopping. AI is not stopping. Now the question is, can we do something about it? That openness to change, then once you kind of you recognize the change, then is okay, what do I do differently? And that's where learning comes in. Yeah. And we are in a world where the half-life of any skill is going down. And especially the value of technical skills is really going down. The last 20 years, at least in our country, have been defined by technical skills. And now suddenly, and it's very suddenly and very dramatic. It's almost like very sudden shift. The value with AI, the value of technical skills is going down. It is different skills, more domain knowledge, softer skills, which are going to become more important. And perhaps the superpower for the AI age is learning to learn. Your learnability, that is going to become extremely important. The third mantra is spirituality. One may say that why in a conversation around AI, spirituality. See, in a world which is very driven by noise all around us, going inside ourselves is very important. That's how I define spirituality. It's a process of going inside. And that's where you find clarity. That's where you find calmness, isn't it? And that's eventually the source of creativity. That's how you make better decisions. And I think that's the human edge, isn't it? So that's the third S. The fourth is sports. Again, there are some questions, AI and sports. And in the virtual world, the physical aspect becomes extremely important. Also AI's age is so complex, you can't do it alone. It's a team sport. Also, there are going to be more losses than wins. So, and you need resilience, and that's what sports teaches, teamwork and resilience. I is impact. Impact is this desire to contribute, to do something more than just self. And that's a very innate human thing. Machine doesn't have that. Machine has is programmed for an objective and a goal. It's very good at meeting that goal, whereas humans keep on redefining the goal and making it bigger and more than us, which I think becomes more important than ever. B is for balance, and it's a world of contradictions. We saw the contradictions even within AI, that there are the challenges and there are the opportunities. But any aspect, you have short-term, long-term. You have strategy, execution. You have growth, profitability. You have every aspect you have contradictions. And in the AI age, to compete and win, that mastering those contradictions, becomes that much more important. So that's point number 6. 7 is leadership. Leadership is, you can also say that AI age is the end of the age of managers, for sure. And we've been talking about manager to leader for quite some time. But I think ab samay aa gaya hai ki this is the real time, where it's not just talk, it's a reality. What are you going to manage? Manage is something which is defined and given. Everything is kind of changing now. So what is the poor manager going to do? Now, what is expected from a leader today? And there are 3 things which I think are really important. The first is to generate clarity, because there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of change. With change, there's a lot of confusion, and it's to set that a very clear direction. The second is to identify and grow more leaders. And third is, how do you manage change? Change management. And the final and perhaps the most important mantra is entrepreneurship. That's what I talked about. that is really the way out. That's the silver lining. Okay, that's the silver lining. And entrepreneurship is the process of creation. Any process of creation requires risk taking. So it doesn't always mean that you're doing a startup. You could be an entrepreneur within an enterprise, but it's a very different mindset. Yeah. So yeah, I'll pause here. I think I've tried to in 10 minutes, given you a bit of a ringside view of the book. You know why I decided to write this book. What was the starting question? What is the problem that I've tried to address, and the framework that I have proposed. Yeah, pause here.